Hey, this is Bruce Cook, and I just got the idea to make a fun little video just showing how I transplant my plants outdoors. So we're going to be transplanting the plants that I went from indoors in those styrofoam cups. They went into these 1 gallon containers. And then once the plant gets tall enough and it gets used to the sun, as I harden it with my little technique I use with the shade cloth tent, they then will go into their final containers, which are the 2 gallon containers. So I will have this on a stand so you don't have to get seasick watching me walk around and hold this camera and wobbling it all around. So it'll keep everything still. But so we already have some plants that I've selected. There are some plants that I've already done. So far, I just got these 4 transplanted. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these plants, we're going to be putting them into these containers. And what I have for all of this is, of course, I got my soil. This is a mix between last year's soil and fresh soil. That's Kellogg's Organics outdoor potting soil. And I put a mixture of 50-50 mixture of bone meal and blood meal. And this is what I use. This right here and this right here. And then I use Osmocote food pellets. So there's going to be 50-50 mix of those. And then I put the amount of pellets that this thing requires. I just sprinkle it and I eyeball it. I do that into the mix of soil. And then I, of course, got it right over here. That's already made. We are also using mulch. That's going to go on the top of the soil after the plant is successfully transplanted. Of course, we got our labels put in there, and we have plant tie. So I will tie these to these wooden stakes. So I don't have any more metal stakes to put into my plant containers. So we're just going to be using these 18-inch long wooden stakes. But I do recommend using metal ones. So just because the plants are going to get a lot heavier and stuff, the wooden ones might, like if there's wind blowing, the wooden ones might not do as good of a job of holding everything still. But anyways, so that's what we got. And I'll put you on the stand and show you exactly what I do. Hopefully this camera does not overheat. Also, my head is not going to be in the frame of the camera. I just wanted to get all of this stuff in the frame and show you what I'm doing. So what we have here are 2-gallon potting, outdoor potting containers. So what I do is I'm going to be using 2 scoops of the soil to start off. I'm going to put it in the bottom of this container. So hopefully you can see that. And then obviously this is going to be going on top of that. Now first thing I do is I take my label out, I set it off to the side. And I'm going to be tying off. You can see I already have ties on these plants. That was when they were shorter. So now I'm going to add a tie up top. So when I do that, I don't tighten the plant to the plant stake. I just make a loop. Because the goal is just to guide the plant to grow straight up. You don't want to like tighten it onto the plant. You don't want to tighten the stem of the plant to the wooden stake because you don't want to cut circulation off and pinch off and kill your plant. So I just use my teeth. It works just fine. So that's one less tool I have to mess around with. So I'm just going to be putting this around the top of the plant here just to hold it still. And I'll give you a close-up of how loose I got this. So it guarantees that there's no chance this thing is going to, and I double knot it, by the way. So this is, hopefully you can see that. See, there's plenty of space in there. Just a simple little tie. It'll just help the plant grow straight up. All right, so next thing I'm going to be doing is moving it into this container. So what I do is I push up on the bottom of this just to get the whole soil and everything loose in there. And I'm going to be, this soil is semi-dry, so there's going to be dirt getting on the leaves. There might be dirt getting on the leaves, but it's not going to hurt the leaves if the soil is dry. What you don't want is wet soil sticking to the leaves. But anyways, I just put my hand over the top of this like this, and I get one last little push. set that off to the side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently set this into the middle of the container. So you can see there's plenty of space going all around it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be filling up this this cup with soil, and I'm going to go around and fill in the spaces. All right, I'll pick out some of the stuff I don't want in there. Like I said, I'm going to go around and fill in these spaces. And this is going to take like 3 cups worth to do this. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a few shakes and smacks to try to get the soil to sink in, so that way it fills in any empty areas in there. You don't want any air pockets inside of here. You don't. The roots need to be, all the roots need to be making contact with the soil. So you just give it a few taps here, shakes. I just put it on my lap, and if your plant starts leaning, just sink your fingers in a little bit and assist it to go straight back straight up. So I'm going to show you. So the first time I pat this thing to get the settle to soil, you're going to notice, if you can see around here, this is where the original, this is where the majority of the roots are, where they were inside of the other containers. This is where they're really holding onto the soil. So you can see there's spaces of soil that have sunk down underneath there. So we're going to be filling this in. So we're going to fill our cup up again for a 3rd time. All right. Okay, and now, you want to make sure the soil is not so high that it's on the leaf underneath. So, anyways, once you're satisfied with how much soil's in there, I'll give it a pat to kind of flatten it. Don't go hard. You don't want the soil to be way too compact. But I just pat it down, and then the next thing we're gonna do is put a little bit of mulch on the soil. So with the mulch, you don't want to put too much. Your goal is to just barely cover the surface of the soil in this container. So the whole point of doing that is, one, when it's really hot out, it'll kind of help keep the moisture from evaporating up and out of the soil. It just allows the soil to be damp a little bit longer. So that way, if you watered it in the morning and it ends up being a really hot day out and you have to go to work for like 10 hours and stuff, you don't have to worry about, because these things can evaporate the water out of the soil really, really fast. Like, I could soak the heck out of these things and then go to work and come back like 10 hours later after it's been like a super hot day in the middle of summer, and the soil would be bone dry and you would actually see the leaves limp a little bit. But I started using the mulch on the top. That helps prevent that happening. So, and another benefit to the mulch is also when it rains. Like I said before, you don't want wet soil splashing up and getting all over your leaves. So when it does rain, the soil will help catch that rain and prevent the rain from hitting the soil and splashing back up. So you don't need a whole lot of it. It's just going to be a very light. What I do is I just like throw it on there like that, kind of spread it out. Now, if you're using like 5-gallon containers, you could be a little bit more liberal with it and put a little bit more on there. But with these smaller containers, you don't want to put too much in there because you don't want to suffocate. You can end up with mold if you do that. So, and I will show you a close up so you have an idea. So that's what it looks like once I'm done with it. And as you see, I didn't put that much in. There's the soil. It's just a real thin layer of this mulch. And then the last thing to do is just simply put the plant label in there. So this says JPAF. That's Jimmy Pickles Ahi. What was the? I'm forgetting what the F stood for. Every video I forget what a phantasm. That's what it was. So Jimmy Pickles Ahi Phantasm. That's what this is. So just simply put it in the front of the container so you can easily see that. Now, when I go to put these in their final places, I mean, there's going to be these tall markers that I created. So you can see I have, you know, these tall markers, these wooden stakes with the markers on top, labels on top. But right for the moment, I've been putting my last round of plants that I transplanted right here. They're all together, all different varieties. I'm waiting for calcium nitrate to come in the mail, because that stuff helps a great deal. It's water soluble. You put it in water, put 2 scoops per gallon, and what it does is it helps prevent blossom end rot. That's when you see your leaves start rotting at the end of them, and then obviously the leaves end up dying and falling off. You don't want that to happen. And I've noticed when I use it, it helps the plant, the leaves have a really nice rich green color. The only season I didn't have calcium nitrate, well, there was 2 seasons. That was in 2020 and 2021, or 2022. And 2022, I was just so low on money, I couldn't get a lot of stuff. And a lot of my pepper plants did not produce anything. They died really young. The leaves were rotting. But I'll tell you, every year that I've used this calcium nitrate, every plant that I've used it on grew very, very healthy. And I get it from Gary at the Rusted Garden. So I definitely recommend using calcium nitrate. But anyways, so that's my video. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun and show you, you know, how I personally do my transplanting. And it works out perfect for me. And I do the same thing when I take them out of the cups and put them into those containers. Exact same process. So, but anyways, I hope you guys and y'all enjoyed that video, and I will see you in the next one.